This is the Sunday stream opening song because the other song is copyrighted. La 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 la. Oh, look, here comes Dog Cat Fox.
Hi, Sky.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday stream, the stream I do on Sundays, because Sunday is the day to stream on Sundays. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Sunday morning. Well, the sun's out, so that's good. It's going to get really hot, I think. Oh, well, I guess that's just what happens in the summertime. But anyway, hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Sunday morning. Before I get into my little explanation of today's topic, who's joining me on this beautiful Sunday morning? Stolka, good morning. Old Guy Gamer, good morning. Keeverdam, good morning. And Keeverdam, thank you so much for always providing the fundraisers to the top of the chat box. We have fundraisers there for our friends Maddie, Lisa, Moonshock, and Angry Illinoisian. Guys, if you have a moment, please take a look at those. And if you can donate to any of them, please do so. If you can't, that's fine. But if you can share those out on social media, that would be very helpful. So thank you ahead of time for that. Noah Asensio, good morning. Who else is here? Somnambulo Nation, Mike Savage, Shadowclaw, Robert Pincus, and let's see. Did I already say Mike R? If I didn't say Mike R, Mike R. Did I say Old Guy Gamer? Old Guy Gamer. Twisted Skipster? Twisted Skipster. Derek LaRue. Derek LaRue. And thank you, Derek LaRue, as always, for your support and generosity. Really appreciate it. Hope you're having a good Sunday morning so far and hope you find this interesting. Megan Ring, good morning. Who else is here? Is that who I see? That's who I see. All right. Well, if I missed anybody, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good morning. So there's a lot of preamble to this one because it kind of has to do with, oh, those ain't real, dude. Also, good morning. It has a lot to do with a stream I did on Friday night. And for those of you that weren't here for Friday night stream, I'll try to keep it as brief as possible, but it does require some explanation. So in the world of DEI, a couple of very important things happened a couple of weeks ago, and they took the form of letters from various attorney generals to the Fortune 100 companies in the country, but also to corporate America in general. And how this went, in summary, was this. Several Republican attorneys general sent a letter out, a public letter to these Fortune 100 companies and said, hey, guys, you might want to think about winding down your DEI programs pretty quick because they're illegal and there may be consequences legally in the near future. Whereas in response, a group of Democratic attorneys general sent a letter in response to the Republicans saying, no, companies, your DEI programs are totes legal, yo, because obviously you guys having, and I'm quoting here, aspirational diversity goals, unquote, are not the same as quotas. Now, as most of you probably know, for several years now, I have asked the question, the sort of amorphous question, how is this legal when it comes to DEI programs in general? And being not a lawyer, I never really understood how it was or how it got away with it. Well, I'm not going to go to too much in a tirade of that, but as people have started to take notice of these programs in the last couple of months, specifically because of the affirmative action decision, it has been narrowed down to one major question, one real point that nobody can get around. And that point is, if you are a private employer and you make use of a quota when it comes to race or gender or any other demographic that is covered by Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, you are in trouble legally. There's no way around it. A quota is one of the things that across everything that I've looked at regarding affirmative action in the workplace and things like that, it's the one thing that you are not allowed to use. That's illegal. And so now it really comes down to a question. Well, what is the difference between an aspirational diversity goal and a quota? So I want to give kind of a hypothetical example for a second. If I'm executive at company X, and I make a statement to the public saying, we hope that one day our workforce and our leadership team resembles the diversity of this great nation. Okay? To me, as a layman, that would sound like a very broad, very abstract, aspirational diversity goal. That would not be a quota. Okay, nobody could probably come along and say, aha, you've done. No, it's nice, fluffy language, but it's not a quota. I think, again, as a layman, a quota becomes a possibility or consideration as soon as you start talking numbers. If you start talking percentages of demographics, I'll be generous and say that you are, at the very least, stepping on the line when it comes to the legality of such a program, okay? So I had a question for myself and for the world, and I mentioned this on Friday night as well. You know, I think I've chronicled a whole swath of examples over the last 7 years of companies publicly declaring themselves as having quota goals for their diversity programs. Now, but just to be fair, I thought to myself, okay, can I find a public statement of some kind from a corporate executive, from a company within the Fortune 100 list of companies for 2023, who is stating explicitly about diversity goals? And within that, will we see anything that even resembles a quota? Okay. And I wanted to find something that took place before the current hubbub, right? Not too long ago, but recent enough that it's relevant, but not before the affirmative action decision. And so I thought, gosh, can I find such a thing? Can I? Well, through the power of the internet, yes. And it wasn't that tough, honestly. It was just going into YouTube and typing in diversity goals at, and then seeing what I come up with. And setting a filter for about 1 year's worth of time going backwards. And what do you know? Our friends at Forbes, you know, that publication that really likes putting future criminals up on their front pages, like Elizabeth Holmes and Sam Bankman-Fried. Forbes did an interview with I believe the chief inclusion officer. I'm assuming that's what the title is. I might be mistaken. At HP. And HP is number 63 on the Fortune 100. So I thought we'd take a look. And remember, this interview was done before all of this. I haven't listened to it, but the title of the video, let me just get this on the record. The title of the video is How HP's Global CIO is Setting Bold Diversity Goals for its IT Workforce. Okay, how HP's Global CIO is setting bold diversity goals for its IT workforce. All right. So the sort of intellectual question for us as we listen is, when the executive speaks about the goals, are they simply amorphous aspirations, or would they possibly indicate a quota? Let's take a listen here. But first, a couple more hellos. Renovatio, hello. Cannibalistic Wizard, hello. Vanilla Bear, hello. Nathan Willie, hello. Captain Brambles, hello. Meh, hello. And is anybody else I might have? I don't think so. Maybe I did. I hope I didn't. If I did, again, good morning to you all. All right, so let's get on with this. This clocks in at just over 12 minutes, so it'll be a relatively brief endeavor, about the length of a standard TEDx talk. I'll start off with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed.
Ron, great to have you with us today, and congratulations on being a CIO Next honoree with Forbes.
Because yes, Forbes honoring people has a really great track record. I'm not indicating anything. I don't know anything about this guy. I'm just saying, what was it? Elizabeth Holmes, Sam Bankman-Fried. Who was there was somebody else that Forbes put on their front page that turned out to be a total fraud. There was a third person. I'm suddenly forgetting who it was. Anyway, yes, Forbes.
With Forbes.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. So HP. So you're the global CIO of HP, massive company, 63, I think, $0.5 billion of revenue in 2021. PCs, printers, digital manufacturing. That's a heck of a lot going on there. What's your role as global CIO? What
What is a C? Okay, I gotta check because they're not saying. What is a CIO? CIO business title. Okay. Chief Information Officer. Really? Okay. I would have thought it'd be something like Chief Inclusion Officer or Chief Impact Officer or something. Okay, Chief Information Officer. All right. There we go.
Kind of range of responsibilities do you have?
So as a global CIO, my primary responsibility is to the 50 to 60,000 employees of this great organization. In almost every time zone we have, all 24, ensuring that they're optimizing their opportunities to work with our systems, to make sure they're proficient and they get the best they need to kind of deliver to our end customers and those we serve.
Okay. Also, good morning, Hammer. 1 ton or otherwise.
So it's really kind of like the employees first, and then that feeds through to the customers afterwards.
Absolutely. In some areas, we actually do provide direct to the consumer through our websites that we kind of oversee and manage. But overarching, we just want to make sure our employees are happy and they're functional, especially during the times that we're in today.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a glorified morale officer, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a tough ride over the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
I've seen you kind of talk about the 5 E's as your philosophy of leadership. What are those E's?
Yeah, so my guiding principles are 5 E's, and I've used them over my previous 4 opportunities as CIO, and I brought them here at HP. And the first one for me is enable.
Enable. Okay, the 5 E's. I haven't heard of the 5 E's before. All right, so the first one's in enable.
Job is to enable our employees. That's very important. Enable our employees, our customers.
Is one of the E's empathy or expand?
Next one's explore.
Okay, explore. All right. Enable, explore.
Explore what's next. It's so important that we see what's on the next horizon. We can prepare for that. But engagement is also very important, especially in a time where everyone's transient, everyone's working through collaborative tools. The other 2 E's that are very important to me are eliminate waste.
Eliminate waste. Okay. I'm gonna if I don't hear empathy, I'm gonna be striking out twice in a row now, because on the TEDx there was an E in a little work tool thing, and I got it wrong there. It was expand. I guess there's no empathy left in the world.
There's a lot of opportunity that technology could do to eliminate waste, adding bots, making things more intuitive, so our employees can focus on what's most important. And the final one is evangelize value.
Evangelize value. Okay, well, I fail. Yes, making your value case to the customer and to your clients and so on is important. Okay, they all sound very nice.
We have to do a better job of evangelizing the value, because when our CFOs give us funding, we have to make sure we're showing value for that investment. And
you guys should really, if you want to eliminate waste, just as a completely separate thing for a second, if HP really wants to eliminate waste, they really need to eliminate proprietary motherboards and components in their pre-built machines and otherwise. Okay, they really need to eliminate that. They need to make either standard shape and size motherboards and other components so that people can swap them out. Because otherwise, if you get a pre-built that's an HP and the motherboard is proprietary and it's shaped in such a way that can't be used in any other case, in any other circumstance, if that thing ever gets broken or some component goes sideways, the whole thing becomes a trash pile. So just saying, if you want to eliminate waste, you might want to go down that direction.
Show really the long-term why this is a good thing for the organization.
That's so important, because often I get the impression that people can get carried away with the technology without seeing the real business value that it delivers. So you work very closely with your C-suite colleagues?
Absolutely. So a lot of times we represent, we have quarterly reviews. We explain the investment you provided us. This is the outcome of it. If we want to move forward on our NIST, for example, if we want to move forward on our CMMI, here's where the investments are actually bringing the most bang for the buck.
Okay, I'm an English major, not a business major. I don't know half of what he's talking about here, but I'm sure it's all corporate legitimate in some way.
Because again, it's not finite, so we got to make sure we're very intelligent with the investments that we do have.
Got it. So NIST is the cybersecurity framework. What's CMMI?
CMMI is that's the way we get our management and maturity matrix.
CMMI. Well, why don't you just say what the letters stand for. Okay.
And it's the way to make sure that how are we doing? Are we at a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
Wow.
Maybe we should be at a 5 in certain areas, but we're okay to be at a 3 at others. So it's a standard way to keep ourselves honest. It's like a scorecard.
Got it. Are you a 5?
No, we're not a 5, but we're
no, I never claim perfection.
You're on your way.
We're on our way in certain areas. Some ways, a 4 is actually just good enough for us.
Okay, what are you talking about?
So we want to make sure that we continually to adapt and move those forward.
Got it.
Okay. All right.
You talked about sort of eliminating as one of those E's.
Waste.
Now, I know you've been eliminating ERP systems. Can you talk us through that? I mean, you had a massive number, right, when you started?
Correct. So actually, when I joined, the train already left the station. And the beautiful thing about it is I was able to kind of bring it to fruition with a great team.
ERP. Oh my gosh. Okay. What is ERP in business? Enterprise resource planning. Is that what it is? Okay, I'm seeing enterprise resource planning. Okay, it's an accounting. All right, okay, which is a type of business management software. Business management software? Okay, hold on.
Beautiful thing about it is I was able to kind of bring it to fruition with a great team with the business. So there was 13 ERP systems. We collapsed that down to one global instance, and we actually were able to move it on a new hosting strategy as well. And the idea there is now we have one backbone, one platform for the org, and now we can build on top of it. So
okay, so you consolidated disparate systems to try to streamline the process. Okay, on the high level, I can understand that. Okay, when do we get to the whole diversity goals thing that this video was titled about?
The way I always say it is ERP was really the start. Now we can do so many things on top of that to make sure that we're more successful and we're lean where we need to be.
Okay.
Got it. And then agile as well. You've been on a kind of agile journey.
Okay, dude, this is just an advertisement, isn't it? It's not even an interview. It's just softball. Wow, you guys are so great. Tell me about how great you are.
Can you talk through that and like give an example of something? I mean, maybe around pricing, where you've kind of seen the benefits feed through to the employees or to the customers?
An example? Sure. Tell us how all of this has led to something beneficial. I love examples, even if I don't quite understand what the heck's going on.
Absolutely. We've been doing a lot more journey mapping. So we've been a lot do value chain mapping. And so we've been looking at from cradle to grave, from configure to pricing to quoting.
It's all a bunch of buzzwords and stuff. Do you have an example?
And how do we do it better and streamline those practices?
Do you have an example?
We actually question, if we have 5 steps today, why can't we do 3?
Do you have an example?
Why can't we automate it and go down to 1?
I don't know. Do you have an example?
So we constantly continually change and challenge ourselves through like a Kaizen philosophy.
Kaizen? Oh, Lord, I haven't heard that term since I worked for a major corporation. Holy cow, that brings back memories, really, really negative memories of having to sit through meetings on work processes and said and also Six Sigma. You guys ever hear of Six Sigma? Oh, man. Oh, that went nowhere. Anyway, do you have an example for what you're talking about?
But the most important thing is when it comes to DevOps and Ops and Sec, we want to make sure that Sec, for example, cybersecurity, for example, is early on in the conversation, so it's not an afterthought. So it's so important to bring that on early through the iteration discussion with our business partners.
So that's the shifting left of security, right? Bringing it earlier in the process.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, was there an example anywhere in there? No. They're high-minded abstracts. Okay. When do we get to the diversity stuff? I was promised a diversity conversation from the title.
So we could actually stage gate it early on to catch anything that may have been kind of missed later. And so we could be a lot more nimble and agile as we move forward. And
has HP had, and I don't off the top of my head recall, has HP had any like security breaches or anything in the recent memory? Because so many major companies have had those where like, customer information and so on has gotten out. I think it was mostly insurance companies or credit agencies and things, but so they're so concerned with security. I don't know.
And that's actually so far it's going well.
That's great.
Okay.
I know you're particularly passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes. All right. It's only about halfway through the talk. All right. Here we go. All right. So again, This is a executive from a Fortune 100 company talking about, I hope, fingers crossed, knock on Formica, diversity goals. So, again, I'll just reiterate the question. Whatever he's about to talk about, whatever he's about to say, let us assess it on one of two standards. Is it merely a kind of wishful thinking, aspirational goal? Or does it edge into the territory of establishing a quota? That is the question we are attempting to answer here.
And in your submission for the CIO Next Awards, I mean, one of the things that stood out to me was this kind of target that you set. I mean, it's the first time I've seen a CIO kind of step up and say, we're going to have this target. And the target, I think, is to have the US IT team at Hewlett Packard, the racial mix of that, match the racial mix of the US by 2030.
Okay. Well, I didn't have to wait long now, did I? Okay, so now we need to hear the executive say it, not just this guy. But okay, so not being a lawyer, if I say I want to hit a percentage mix, a percentage goal of specific racial demographics, are using the model of the American population, and say like, the African-American population in the U.S. is 13%. And so by 2030, I want my workforce to be 13% African-American. Does that sound like a quota? Does that sound like a marching orders to the hiring managers as to who to hire and to what extent year over year? I don't know. Again, I'm just saying, sounds like a quota to me, but will our speaker, our executive, say that out loud? The interviewer is just repeating something. That's one thing. But will the executive from the Fortune 100 company make that same claim?
Couple of questions. I mean, how are you going to do it? Mm-hmm. And two, why 2030? Why not 2026 or 2027?
That's a great question. And, it's been documented many times over in STEM fields, STEAM fields. Racial diversity is not where it needs to be.
Not where it needs to be. Okay, so there is a where we are and a where it needs to be. Okay.
And the U.S. makeup is actually 13% of the U.S. population is Black African American.
Uh-huh.
So why not have 13% of my staff being Black African American? And that will actually be the low mark. Why not beat that?
Uh-huh. Okay. Democratic attorneys general who assured all of the Fortune 100 companies. I can't speak for all the other 99, but at least HP. Do you think this counts as a quota, or is this an aspirational goal?
So the things we're doing across the board is we're actually partnering with HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. Uh-huh. We partner with them. We have bake-offs. We have other things that we're partnering with, like challenges, which is great.
Okay, now, as I said in the Friday night stream, the efforts towards recruitment and outreach to specific institutions or organizations where you may find applicants that fall within your demographic desires, that action in and of itself is not necessarily tempting fate with Title VII. Not necessarily, at least in letter of law. I think in spirit and principle, it's still awfully cynical, but on its face, not necessarily so. Again, it's when you start talking numbers and then the implication of the hiring processes and procedures and standards taking place after the fact. If he just talked about outreach and said nothing about percentages, might be in safer territory. But at this point, 13%, why not my workforce be that too, also greater? Sounds like a quota.
I meet with the HBCU CIOs to start talking about what curriculums are they training and what I'm hiring for to make sure we match those appropriately. That makes sense. And we have various forums that we bring together on that. And the one thing about HP, which I really, really enjoy, is the organization has been extremely ahead of and progressive in this space. But it also focuses on Latinos and Latinas as well. And
but they weren't your first concern, right? You had one primary demographic that you were trying to satisfy first and foremost. I mean, to the exception of any others, with a number on it and a deadline. So, okay, well, let's back up a second here. I mean, not trying to say there's any discrimination going on or anything.
And progressive in this space. But it also focuses on Latinos and Latinas as well, and women. We have a bold goal.
Wait, Latinas aren't women? Wait, Latinos and Latinas and women. What? Oh, the mind, it doth melt at times.
But it also focuses on Latinos and Latinas as well, and women. We have a bold goal that 50% of our leadership in 2030 will be women.
Okay, well, all right, so 13% of the workforce at minimum. Remember, he hopes for greater numbers, but at minimum, African American. The company, what was it? The company as a whole, or was it the leadership? Sorry, let me back up a little bit.
Drew me ahead of and progressive in this space. But it also focuses on Latinos and Latinas as well, and women. We have a bold goal that 50% of our leadership in 2030 will be women.
Okay, so a quota of 50% gender parity of the leadership team by 2030 will be women. All right, and just to remind, so far, at least mentioned, two elements in Title VII that you are not allowed to discriminate by, and most especially, you're not allowed to set quotas for, and that's race and sex. There's also religion, country of origin, and so on. But the two big ones, race and gender, okay? And he's just set percentage targets with a timeline. Again, Fortune 100 company, and remember, quotas are illegal. Now, I don't know if these count under legal terms as quotas, but you know, if it walks like a duck.
Our bold goal in 2030, 33+% of our engineering staff will be women.
Okay, that's 3. So we have African Americans, leadership for women, engineering staff for women, 3 different percentage goals on a timeline. Okay.
And we're being very intentional. The way we see it is if you put your goals out there and you make it in a public forum, we will deliver on them.
Now, I appreciate the fact that you're putting them out there in your public forum, and I appreciate the fact you're being very intentional and unfiltered when making these statements.
Got it. I mean, would the women, that 50% women in senior leadership, would that translate into the IT team as well?
Absolutely. And this is a beautiful thing. When I joined, I had a chance to kind of reconfigure my team. I intentionally made sure that I had 4 women and 4 men on my leadership team. So
So on your own team, you had a quota of 4 women and 4. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Again, I don't know. I would hope, but I don't know. If someone like Ricada Law, right, or Legal Eagle or something, could take a look at something like this and say, okay, what counts under legal restrictions as a quota in employment hiring? And do the statements from our speaker here qualify? And if so, is that not at least worthy of an investigation on equal employment grounds of possible federal law violation of federal law and civil rights? I mean, I'm just wondering, as a complete layman, I don't know how this is an aspirational goal rather than an illegal quota.
So I'm already starting out of the gate 50% women. And the goal is those women will help hire more women. And the men on the team will also be very aware.
The women will help hire more women, and the men on the team will be like aware.
And very intentional as to who they bring on as well. And so
it's not also men? So wait. The women on your team are there to hire other women. The men on your team are to be more aware of who they hire as well. It's not to keep an equal balance between the two genders? Thank you, Chicago Mike. Hi, Scribe in chat. I think that 30% of all new hiring by 2030 should be blood-sucking vampires. Yeah, hey, let's do it. Let's do it. You know, I hear the Venture are good at business, and the Giovanni. let's go back, because as soon as he started talking about the women will hire women, and then watch his face as soon as he starts talking about what the men will be doing.
And on my leadership team. So I'm already starting out of the gate 50% women. And the goal is those women will help hire more women. And the men on the team will also be very aware and very intentional as to who they bring on as well. And so we want to make sure we keep on moving that forward.
Oh, man. I know. I understand. I might be tilting at windmills here. You know, I might just as some schmuck watching this stuff over the years. But man, I tell you, sometimes I just think to myself, how is this legal?
In the last 2 years, we have made progress in that space, but there's a lot more work to do.
Got it. And then in terms of the speed, I mean, 2030, is that like a kind of deliberate because it gives you the runway you need to be able to get that talent in?
Correct. We have a huge model market in 2025, which we're kind of trending towards.
Okay.
And one of those things we're also looking to do is we hire a lot of outsourced providers, right? Like every company, every.
And are you assessing whether or not to work with those outsourced providers on the basis of their demographic fit?
CIO does. And we want to start with 10% of that spend goes to African-American owned technology companies.
Okay, that's our fourth apparent, just to be on the safe side, you know, no accusations, but a fourth apparent quota, and at least our third one based on race and or ethnicity.
And then we're going to raise that up in future years. But the first start is to really, really be intentional as who we partner with and make sure that they are also well represented.
Yes, be very intentional on how you're discriminating people on the basis of their makeup for business opportunities. Okay.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Wow. Yeah. Round of applause, everybody. Round of applause. Racial and gender discrimination in the workplace. It's great. And also very intentional. And also very public.
Great initiatives. Before you joined HP, you were in government, right? If I remember some of this.
Really? Where did he work in government?
The wonderful state of Illinois. You were their chief technologist, technology leader. What did you learn while you were in government that you've brought into the role at HP? What kind of key learnings, key messages?
Yes.
Well, the key learnings, the number one is scarcity truly breeds innovation.
So necessity is the mother of invention?
I say that because the state of Illinois was a phenomenal opportunity to serve my home state and serve Governor Pritzker on his cabinet. And to give back to my home state and roll out broadband, we did a lot of things before we knew the pandemic was coming that due to that, the pandemic was not as painful when it comes to e-learning, telehealth. And so those learnings I brought into this role as well.
Okay, and this is fine. All right. I don't begrudge the guy his career or anything like that. It's just, you know, again, the whole question was, can I find a Fortune 100 company that was stating in no uncertain terms its diversity goals? And were they aspirational or were they quotas? I think we've gotten there. I have a feeling we're going to be winding down now because we're coming up on the last couple of minutes.
The other one, and I've always had this, was more of an empathetic ear.
Thank goodness. Okay, I feel slightly vindicated. At least empathy was brought up. It took, 3 streams to get there, but at least empathy was brought up.
We're all going through this during the pandemic, and we have to be very aware that we have to give people space. We have to give them the opportunity to work-life integration. I used to say balance like many, but I truly believe it's about integration. How do you integrate the two?
I don't want to integrate the two. No. It should be balance. It shouldn't be integration. It shouldn't be whole self to work and no distinction between your real life and your business life. I mean, for some people, that's fine. Let me make it clear. There should be a choice. You should have the option. If you want to make your work part of your life on the regular basis, fine. If that's your choice, if you work better that way, if that's just how you operate, great. You shouldn't be required. You shouldn't be forced. You should have, as he said, space between the two So balance, not integration, is what I would prefer.
Because at the end of the day, we have to serve those that we support, and it's very important. But again, the state was a phenomenal opportunity to learn from that. The last thing I'll say from the state was really being intentional to serve the communities around us.
Intentional. I've heard that word since the early days of my channel. I'm being very intentional in this, as though that, like what? Like not accidental? Yeah, I mean, when you say I'm being intentional, it just really takes away, in my mind, any sense of, I mean, I guess you're owning it. I guess that's the one thing I can say about using that word in the context that I often hear it used. At least you're owning your own decisions. You're taking responsibility for what you're saying, which is good in and of itself, but it also doesn't leave a whole lot of room for you to run away from it if it's marked out as not a good move, legally or otherwise.
I was responsible to kind of roll out broadband, but more importantly, the digital divide is a serious issue. So how do we move that and be more progressive? I partner with a lot of our SLED team at HP, and we do a lot of discussions on how do we get.
What's a SLED team?
State, local education.
Got it.
Teams. Sorry.
No, that's
yeah. And so make sure we're partnering with them to say, here's where we need to invest in our communities. And HP is phenomenal at doing so.
Got it. I mean, are there any particular examples you can give that other CIOs could learn from?
Yeah. How about some examples? Okay. Well, bringing technology and internet and broadband to as many places and people as possible, I think, is inherently a good thing. Mostly, I guess. I don't know. I guess I could imagine some kind of, evil, nefarious intentions behind it, but on its surface, okay.
So the one thing that I've always done is you have to get out there. I learned something from one of my past jobs. It's called Genchi Genbutsu. Go look, go see.
Yeah. I had a lot of interesting phrases and terms and a lot of foreign language words being used as buzzwords and buzz phrases when I was being put through the corporate work processes, streamline, encouragement, etc. So sure, that one too.
But at HP, they have the same philosophy. You can't work from your desk only. You have to go out, look, and touch.
The one I heard was it was go to Gemba. It's exact same theory behind what he's talking about. And I'm trying to remember, what was the story? It was some fable or some kind of parable or something about there's someone in the village who knows a very specific thing about a very specific thing. So everybody's wondering how to solve this problem. They're like, well, go to Gemba. And it was also promoting the idea of the SME, the subject matter expert. So you have to get out there. You have to actually go to the person that knows the stuff, that kind of thing. I think that's similar to this. Oh, I got to hit the right button.
And Bill and Dave did that coming out of the garage. So you have to go out, talk to your employees, talk to those who are using your products, and learn from them.
And Genchi Genbutsu, that's a Toyota thing, isn't it?
That is a Toyota thing. 19 years there. You can't.
19 years.
I worked there for 19, and I learned a lot, starting from repo agent up to the CIO. So.
Well, I got to say, my dad was a repo agent early in his varied career. So you work your way up from there. Credit where credit's due.
So a lot of learnings in that role.
That's amazing. Yeah. Last question, yes. What's around the corner that really excites you? So you see something coming up, you're like, wow, it could be a technology, could be a trend, could be, what would you pick?
AI. I'm going to guess AI.
The thing that I would pick is what Mother Nature has done to us and how we're going to come out of it.
Wait, what Mother Nature has done to us? Uh-oh. That sounds opposite from what I usually hear.
When I say that, this pandemic, it has truly accelerated what all CIOs have been talking about.
Oh, Mother Nature did that to us, did it? Okay. Okay.
Get in front of digital. Get ahead of it. Our workforces have always been somewhat hybrid. We have sales teams, marketing teams. They've always been in that realm. Now we're scaling it to the whole company. And so what excites me about this opportunity is how do you get everyone to work? And so their experience at home is just as exciting as their experience in the office.
I don't know. How do you get your work experience at home as exciting as that in the office?
It's a challenge because there are three things you have to get right. You have to make sure you get the data right on the edge. You have to make sure that you get the architecture right. Things have to talk to each other. And the third thing that's most important is the cyber aspect. You have to make sure that you're ring fencing everything, because it's not just in your office, it's anywhere, anytime, any place, on any device. So,
Okay, I'll assume that all makes sense to somebody that knows systems administration and work processes and everything else. I mean, as a kind of high-level technological sophistry, I suppose it sounds good.
it's so important.
So it's the digital acceleration that's come out of the pandemic. I mean, it's a terrible thing,
Yes.
but it has this kind of silver lining in the sense of it's shown everybody what a digital first future can look like.
Absolutely. And I'd say Mother Nature, unfortunately, forced us into this predicament.
No, government policy and ridiculous and unnecessary lockdowns, mandates, and otherwise forced us into this predicament. But okay, to each their own.
But we're going to take the most out of it. And the beautiful thing about HP is the acquisition of Poly and other organizations. How do you
Poly? Wait, what does Polydub have to do with this?
bring the peripherals into that conversation? So you're bundling the experience for the person, the employee, or the student. So that's the exciting part.
That's great. Ron, thank you for talking with Forbes. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it too.
Okay, there you go. So, my goal, or I guess my curiosity, I should say. I don't want to set a goal. I don't want to have a foregone conclusion. My question was, could I find an executive from a Fortune 100 company, the kind of companies that the attorneys general from both sides of the political aisle were talking to recently in letters, warning or assuring about the legal dangers of DEI programs and diversity initiatives? Could I find an executive from one such company who would lay out diversity goals? And from that testimony, as a layman, could I say, is that just some kind of broad, wishful thinking, maybe someday kind of aspirational statement? Or is it a quota? I think, at the very least, our executive here has given enough information and foundation for a major investigation into HP's practices when it comes to hiring by setting very specific percentage goals along with stated and explicit demographics with a timeline. I'm not sure how those don't count as quotas and thus become legally questionable. I'm not sure. I can't make a determination. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just asking questions. But I was curious. I seek and ye shall find. There we go. Again, this is all fueled by the letters from the attorneys general to the Fortune 100 companies that went out about middle of July, late July. And I only really started hearing about or paying attention to them in the last couple of days or so. By the way, trying to find a copy of the letter that the Republican attorneys general sent out was easy. Really easy. Trying to find a copy of the letter that the Democratic attorneys general sent out was a chore. I went through so many articles from, like Reuters and Wall Street Journal and all these other places, just for my own reference, trying to find an actual copy of the letters sent to the companies. And the one from the Republicans, I found lickety split. There was like a hyperlink in an article to it, one of the first ones I looked at. I was like, okay. But the letter from the Democrats, I had to go digging. Like they'd all mention it, and they might quote a line or two, but they never refer to it. Eventually, I found a copy. I'm not going to read it now or today. It's several pages long and very dry, and I'm already kind of, I think, diversitied out for the morning. I might do so either on a supplementary stream or maybe over on the Discord at some point, just for edification purposes, education purposes as well. By the way, Discord, let me get that up here before I get too deep towards winding things down. And of course, I'll take a minute here to see what you guys have to say about the subject. All right, let me get that prepared for at the end of the show. But yeah, what do you guys think real quick? And of course, if I don't get your comment here, please be sure to leave a comment in the comments after you can comment. Renovatio, I'm white and I use your products. I'd love to talk to you. And if there was no law in force, it's not the only thing I'd like to. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's not. Let's keep it civil. We're all civil here. It's okay. Peter, can you show me on this doll where the Mother Nature touched you? Okay. Let's see. And let's see. Yeah, those ain't real sleds. State law. I thought there was another, because when he said sled, my first sort of instinct went to something. Yeah, law enforcement. And so, but I obviously you can have different acronyms for different things, but still that was kind of odd. State local education department. He said team, so it's SLET. Maybe he meant SLET. I don't know. Let's see. Kiever Dam, how about just hiring qualified people regardless of race? No. Egalitarianism is so yesterday. We're much more progressive and modern now. We have to stuff and things. Scannerd Athlete, oh man, I've been playing Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. It holds up pretty well. Have you tried it with the Clan Quest mod? Okay, have you tried it? Now, you can't install the Clan Quest mod over the unofficial patch because that'll cause all kinds of problems. You have to do like a clean install, but do a clean install of Bloodlines and then install the Clan Quest mod, which is all packaged in a single executable. It's great. And try that out. It's basically an expansion pack. I won't give you all about what goes into it, but it's essentially an entire expansion pack that creates an entirely new story branch and hub, and I could sing its praises some more. But if you haven't tried the Clan Quest mod, definitely do so. Let's see. Anything else? Yeah. So anyway, I think I'm going to start winding it down, guys. I don't know, I think I slept kind of goofy or something. My voice is already starting to leave me here. But first, before I go, in the chat, there is a link to the Discord. If you're not already a member of the Discord, well, you can easily become a member of the Discord by clicking on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel, Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, all you have to do is use the secret word. And the secret word tells me and the moderators that you actually watch the stream and are a viewer of the channel. And today's secret word is quota, because why not? So just say hello and quota, and you'll become a member of the Discord. You can talk about the shows and the channels and the series and video games and books and movies and all types of other stuff, or just say good morning, as we often do to each other. Beyond that, tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time will be not necessarily the final in the series, but the final entry into the book review of The Vampire, where my friend Leonora and I are reading Interview with the Vampire, and we are finishing up the book. Well, I'm already done. I think Leonora is still reading it, or finishing up the last couple chapters. But that'll be tonight, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And the intention will be, I assume, to then continue on with the next book in the series, The Vampire Lestat, but we'll talk about that tonight. And also, as I've said before, I am working on, in the very near future, having at least another entry into Living on Borrowed Crime cooked up. It's all about the scheduling. It's all about, people's schedules and lives. When you're working with people who do criminal true crime videos for a living, and they're always in production. They're always setting up the next one, doing research, scripting, and everything else. Trying to find an hour or two edgewise where all the time zones line up isn't easy, but I'm trying. I'm trying pretty hard. I'll be working on it. Beyond that, everybody, I'm going to call it here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Let me know what you think about this, both the aspirational goals idea versus quotas in the comments, or anything else you thought about this video. Please leave a like on the way out if you liked it. I appreciate it if you did. If you didn't like it, you can leave a dislike. I appreciate the engagement either way. And with that, everyone, hope you're all doing well. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the fundraisers at the top of the chat box, thank you so much for your generosity. Really do appreciate it. Everybody have a good rest of your Sunday and your weekend. I hope the next week treats you well. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.